this is Sabina at Cross Keys Crafts. Today with another quick card which came about because a dear friend gave me these flowers to craft with. They've felt flowers and they've got a wire stem, and I thought they would be really nice on a card. And when I was still thinking about what design to choose, I worked with this stamp set the other day. The video should be posted by now when you see this video. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if the little pug was holding this flower? And this is what I have planned for this card. I have already stamped the pug on some craft cardstock. My cardstock is not very smooth, it's very rough actually, and I needed to stamp this 3 or 4 times with a black to make it actually solid. Then I fussy cut the pug, and you see I've already cut one arm off, to show you in a moment why. And I've put some glossy accents on the eyes here. For the nose I used my black pearl drops, but I think when I've finished the card I will put some glossy accents on that too, because the pearl drops aren't very smooth. And I've just coloured in the tongue a little bit with a pale pink there. The other thing I've already prepared, well, not really prepared, I found this scrap in my stash. This is only 3.5 and it was 6 inches long, and I cut it down to 5.5, but I think I will mat this again. I thought it would be really nice to, with this being craft card, to have a pop of colour, and that would work nicely I think with a flower. And I like the sort of round, well, the circles here to mimic the circle in the middle. I wouldn't choose anything too busy, but you could choose any, well, you could choose plain cardstock or just an ink smoothed one, something really simple. And the other thing I have done is picked a sentiment here. I will heat emboss this in a moment. I've got a scrap piece for that, which is bigger than the piece I actually need, because that allows me to hold it without burning my fingers. So, and the other thing we need, because I've cut off that arm, I actually lost it somewhere here on my table. I had it about 5 minutes ago, but I stamped a second piece anyway, because we don't need the front of that paw here, we need the back. So what I'm doing is I'm generously, sorry Mr. Pug for cutting through, I'm generously cutting this arm off again, leaving it a little bit longer. Tell you what, I will actually use my rounded nail scissors. It's much easier to go around the curves and go into the small details here. By the way, it's a bit of a different crafting for me today. I've actually managed to attach my camera or my camera stand to the windowsill, but it means that I'm a bit further back on my craft table. So I've actually marked here off camera for you how close I have to get to be in shot. If I find that should give me a bad back in the long run, I might have to move my table a little bit closer to the windowsill. So I'm just cutting this off here. There we go. And then I'm left with this arm. And what I want to do, let me zoom in a little bit for you. Let me find some scrap paper as well, so I don't draw on the table. I've got a Sharpie here, but any black pen would work. Let me look out of the way. So I'm just drawing the outline of the paw on there. I don't want the inner bits, just to mimic what we had on the front. I'm hoping that the pen doesn't bleed too much on this craft cardstock. So I'm just having a quick look compared to the other bit. Yeah, I'm happy with that, but I think I need to also give the hint of the claws there, which I cut off when I fussy cut, but I just want the hint of that. I think that would look better. So it's not really a lot to do here. What I will have to do is sort of place the arm here, but I'm keeping it a little bit longer for when I'm bending it round. I might go a bit lower there because I don't really want the paw to be the face. So I'm gluing this on the back now where I've folded it. I will also quickly cut my card base, which I forgot, and another layer here, because I don't really want a wide frame on my card base unless I choose a colored card base. So I quickly do this off camera. So my card base is 5 7/8 by 4. Well, actually by 8, because I've obviously halved it. So because I cut it from an A4 cardstock, this is why I had to cut down my mats and layers a little bit more. So my yellow background or my yellow mat is then 1/4 inch down, so 5.5 by 3 3/4, and this one here I cut then accordingly down to 5 1/4 by 3.5. So these I will just glue on with my magic glue. I've said this before, I got this from eBay. I don't personally like inking from eBay, but if you put in magic glue and you find this red tube, that's the one. I think it's the best glue ever for these sort of jobs. I've never had any problems with clogging up of anything. So sorry if I'm going off camera, just a reminder to myself that I need to work a bit further up here on the table. So I'm actually using my bone folder bit to spread this out, because that's something I learned as well with the thicker glues. If you just use your bone folder, it flattens it out a little bit and you don't end up with bumpy bits on the back. So I'm just thinking whether I want it the other way around. Have a bit more yellow on the top. I think that would be nicer, because obviously the pug will cover some of this pattern paper. So then the pug, I've glued the arm on the back, so he can go down as well. If you wanted to, you can put him up on foam. I'm not too bothered. I'm not even bothered that there will be a bit of bulk where I've got the arm on the back. If you wanted to, you could cut it much shorter, but for me that's fine. Obviously don't put any glue on the back of that arm. So just thinking where I have my sentiments, so I need to leave a bit of space. And I could move him a bit closer to the right hand side, because obviously this will fold over, so I definitely want him sort of in the middle. So once you've pressed it down, this will adhere really nicely. So for the flower, I think I will actually use some red tape. I could use some collal glue, but I want this to hold in place properly, and I need to make sure I'm not covering his eyes. So one thing I think I will do, which is handy, is bend the wire here, so it can actually bend around the eye there. By the way, if you don't have flowers like that, well, you can buy flowers as well, or cut your own with just your dies from thinner felt if you wanted to, and you can just have a stalk made from cardstock. But obviously you can just cut this from cardstock if you've got the according dies, or even just cut it straight from paper. Be creative. You don't even need the dog stamp, you might have something else in your stash. So let me just quickly get my red tape ready, and then I'll show you how we stamp and heat emboss the sentiment. I'm picking a red tape that is not wider than the actual paw. Just checking this here. I might even have to cut this down a little bit. It can be a bit temperamental, red tape. If you can easily peel it off the release paper if you try to manipulate it, but mine held on well. So I'm putting it all over the paw, although some of that will be sort of free behind it because I'm not pressing it all down. I'm just checking whether there's anything sticking out, but that's fine. See, I've got this now on my finger here. So I'm just taking this off, being a bit mindful. I just had my nails done. I never have my nails done in a salon, but I had a voucher and I'm really chuffed with this. It's like a neon pink, some shimmer in it, so try not to ruin that. So I've taken the release paper off. Let me zoom in a little bit more as well. So, and I'm just contemplating whether I need to stick it down at the top first. I think I will do that. Could also use some hot glue, by the way. It's really up to you. I just can't be bothered now putting my hot glue gun on. But if you have it handy on your table, you might do anyway. Sorry, because I've zoomed out again. So I'm just putting one little bit in the middle here, and I'm just putting a little bit here on the green bits, maybe even at an angle, so that it covers it mostly. The tricky thing can sometimes be that it wants to stick to the release paper more than it wants to stick to the felt, so that can be a bit of a tricky one. If that is the case, I find best use a needle, poke it into the release paper, and then try to lift it off rather than lifting it off from the side. There you go. I'm leaving this in real time. If you're not bothered, please wind forward. But I find if I see other crafters struggle, I know I'm not on my own. Nope, it's not coming off. If not, I will just take it off, and I might just use a little bit of my ordinary glue. So just this one here, or you could use the collal glue. Problem sometimes is with a wet glue, it might sink into the felt. So I'm just placing this down here now where I want it, not too close to the eye. Pressing it down there where I've got the red tape, pressing that down, and now I can fold over the arm there, and that should hold it in place nicely. How cute is that? So all we need now is the sentiment. Just get this out of the way. So I'm quickly using my anti-static powder tool. Any anti-static powder tool is fine, obviously. So, and I've decided not to stamp in black, but to stamp in the VersaFine Claire Warm Breeze. It's a sort of a teal colour that would go nicely with that. So I'm making sure I'm inking this up thoroughly. And the good thing about the VersaFine is it stays wet enough for me to heat emboss it. So I'm just going to the side here. So I've got plenty of space here to hold it afterwards. Yeah. So I've got my clear embossing powder here. So I'm just dipping it in, tapping it off, and when it's sort of a matte finish, then you know it's nicely covered. So I will heat set this off camera quickly. I will heat up my heat tool for about 30 seconds, and then I will go in with my heat tool from the back. I always find that gives best results because you don't blow the powder away straight away. With the clear one, it doesn't matter too much because the clear one doesn't show too much, but especially if you've got coloured embossing powder, it immediately shows. So I like to do it from the back. Before I show you how I cut my sentiment strip, I have just peeled this off again because I realised that this back piece of felt gives me too much bulk. So I'm just going in with my scissors. I should have done that beforehand and try to cut this off, because this is really bulk that we don't need on there. There's another piece there I can cut off. So this has come off now, so that doesn't really stick, but it doesn't matter because it's held in place there and there. But the other thing I forgot that I do actually have in my stash rather than using the red tape is some glue dots. These are some really big ones, so I think I will actually use one of these. I'm not even sure what these came with, so I will just place that on the back if I can. Don't do what I do, put your finger in it. This is not how to apply a glue dot. Sorry about that. See, I'm not an expert. You do it professionally. Sometimes I try shortcuts and they don't always pay off. So this is how you do it. Stick it on, peel this off. There we go. Luckily this flower actually turns around on the stem, so it's easy to do that. So I can turn this over again now and place it back down. Make sure I've got where I wanted it. Yeah, I'm happy with this now. So it's got no extra bulk in the back. This was definitely too much bulk. So then I wanted to show you a little tip on how to cut slim sentiments. I'm always a bit struggling in my guillotine because when you get to this sort of level, it just gets caught there. But you've got definitely, not on this bit here, I don't know what your guillotine is like, but on this bit, I've got a straight bit. So I can align my sentiment. I don't know how well that shows, but the bottom of my sentiment on that plastic strip if I wanted to. Having said that, this is not as short as I wanted, so I'm pushing it a little further on so to actually have the top of my sentiment matching this line here. Depends on how big your letters are as well. So and when I've got that, I can turn it the other way around and align again. Can now align the bottom of that strip on that plastic sheet. So I'm not going to the top because I find this really confusing. It's also got a curve in there. I don't know why that is. Well, it's obviously for the fingers. Having said that, now you can't see that. Let me just move this other way. Now I'm actually getting too close to the top of the sentiment, so I will move this just a little bit in and look at this line here now. So once I've done that, I can now align it at the top to get the sides straight. Although sometimes with this one it gives a bit away, so I've got a dodgy corner there, which I'll have to remedy a little bit with my scissors. Could even use my corner rounders. I might actually do that. Sorry, corner rounder. So I've got this one here from We Are Memory Keepers. I really like this one. The only thing I need to do though with this one, I need to make sure I've properly pressed it in. So I always like to do it from the back. If I don't, again, it gives some funny corners. And sometimes you've just finished it and the last corner is really dodgy, and then it's difficult to remedy. yeah, I'm happy with that now. So I think because I've got a bit of dimension here, I will put this on some foam pads. I like to use these here from Sellotape. They are the best quality, I find. They don't come off. They're easy to take the release paper off. So for the middle bit, well, I've already cut one here, but I like to cut them on the release paper, and then they don't stick to your scissors. If you want to, you could put some wet glue on the back if you find you need to adjust it, but I'm just placing it down here. There we go. And there's the finished card. Yeah, I think this is really cheerful. As I said, I will just go in with the glossy accents over the nose a little bit and leave that to dry. But how cute is that? And that's why I bought the stamps, because I think they're so cheerful. And I think this would be lovely as well as a get well soon card. You know, if somebody's poorly, if you send big pug hugs, that's lovely. So I will make good use of these flowers. I will save some for Easter next year, I think. But yeah, I will make some of these cards, I think. Yeah, and if you like this card too, you might want to give me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of what I'm creating, you might want to subscribe to my channel. I'd be very happy about that. And I'll see you soon with another video.